Continuing the theme of builds that are tanky enough where I can face tank pretty much everything in the game, the next ascendancy and archetype that I had my sights on was a spear-based Amazon. And the main reason for this is the Penetrate Ascendancy node that gives you 25% of the accuracy on your base weapon as added physical damage. This ascendancy point is insanely over budgeted in my opinion, and it allows you to make a crazy powerful weapon for very little money. You have a higher chance of getting tier 1 accuracy to roll on a weapon than you do all 3 of the top 3 physical percentages combined. And since I do like to make relatively budget builds that don't take an insane amount of currency to be able to be played, I decided that we would go with the Amazon. All these clips that you're seeing now are from the endgame variant, but not the really expensive one. Meaning no Garrukons, no Headhunter, nothing like that. But do make sure to stay tuned later into the video because I will be going in game and I will be showing you how the build performs with super high-end gear in both a map and an endgame boss. With this being a melee build, we are once again able to use the Constricting Command helmet to great effect. The surround nodes on the tree are simply just insanely strong, and it is one of the major benefits that a bottom side of the tree melee build can use. So obviously, we're going to be taking advantage of it. With this Constricting Command, you do need 4 fewer enemies on the surround so that anytime you are in melee, you are considered to be surrounded. The other way that we're going to be scaling damage on this build is going to be through crit, as it makes sense with the Amazon since overcapped accuracy will give us critical strike chance. This also does allow us at the very high-end version of the build to be using Garrukons, which is an insane damage increase. All of this combined gives us some absolutely amazing clear with Whirling Slash and Twister, as well as some pretty insane single target through Rapid Assault, as well as the Explosive Spear for detonating the spearheads. For the most part, this build is a simple 2-button build for clearing. You really don't need to use Rapid Assault too frequently, except for like pinnacles or extremely difficult map bosses and such, but Rapid Assault does some crazy damage if you do need it. But for the most part, you can just zoom around with Whirling Slash and Twister, clear the entire screen, and not really have to worry about very much targeting at all. As for the defensive layers of this build, we are an attack-based physical damage build, meaning that Couture of Crimson is an obvious choice. This gives us Life Leech can overflow maximum life, increasing our overall life amount by 50% more. This build can get easily up to 5,000 to 6,000 life in combat. Beyond that, we're obviously going to be capping our resistances. The evasion. Due to Stalking Panther, we get double the evasion rating from our helmet, gloves, and boots, which are all going to be pure evasion, and we get halved evasion rating from our equipped body armor, which doesn't have any evasion in the first place. So we get basically none of the downsides and all of the upsides of this node, plus a giant evasion shield, when all things combined gets us up to 50 or 60% evasion, as well as a good percentage of deflection. So with 5 to 6k life, 50 to 60% evasion, a little bit of block, as well as a ton of recovery, this build, for the most part, doesn't really ever die. I've thrown it at just about the most difficult content that I possibly can, and only in giant, insanely juiced tier 16s, where the abysses get worse with every single abyss, have I managed to die, where I was actually trying to play the game. So trust me when I say, and I don't say this lightly, this is probably the best feeling Path of Exile 2 build that I have played as of yet. Now before you jump down into the description and go grab the written full build on Mobalytics, I have spent quite a bit of time figuring this build out, trying to make it work at lower gear levels as well as higher gear levels. I would appreciate it a lot if you could like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to make sure that you stay up to date with all the latest videos. Engagement on YouTube videos helps them get to a larger audience, and I'm still trying to build up my Path of Exile 2 audience at this point since I wasn't really capable of making very many videos early on in PoE2's life. So real quick before we jump into a Juiced map as well as a Pinnacle Boss, I want to go over some basics of the build. So for clear, we are using 2 abilities, Whirling Slash as well as Twister. So Whirling Slash makes this little whirlwind around your character, and if you walk outside of that whirlwind, it pops for a bunch of damage. However, we do not use Whirling Slash for its damage ever. We use it just for the whirlwind. So when you make this whirlwind, it pretty much lasts forever, but if you use Twister while inside of it, it empowers the Twister and generates more of them. So the main way that you're going to be doing damage is you're going to be generating these whirlwinds, and then you're just going to be hitting Twister. They'll go all over the place, do a bunch of damage, kill the enemies. That is how we do clear. Now, on single target, we're talking like big bosses, pinnacle bosses, uber bosses, those kinds of things. You're going to be using Rapid Assault as well as Explosive Spear. Now, Rapid Assault has an interesting little bit here where it has an explosion section to it. The final strike will lodge a spearhead in the target. You can have up to 5 of them, and then once you've got 5 in there, you can explode them. You can do it earlier, but it's not really worth it, and it hits for 731% of attack damage for each of those explosions. So what you're going to do is you're going to walk up to the boss, you're going to stab a couple of times, and then you're going to be using Explosive Spear, which will detonate those spearheads. Last 2 abilities to talk about is going to be our Mark, which we're using with Pounce. We do have a Talisman in our offhand, just with attack speed so that it goes a little bit faster. The reason we're using Pounce is because instead of just casting Sniper's Mark ourselves, we might as well have a movement ability that, yeah, just jumps and applies it and allows us to move around the map a little bit better. Seems much better than casting it yourself, in my opinion. And lastly, we have a War Banner. This is just to do some extra damage on bosses and like a big abyss or things like that. That's pretty much all of the skills in the build. I never use parry. It's kind of useless, but I have it on my bar because there's nothing else to put here. Now, let's quickly talk about transitioning from the normal endgame version to the expensive endgame version. There honestly isn't a ton of changes, but these couple of items in my inventory account for a lot of money. However, the difference in strength of the build between the endgame version and the expensive endgame version is pretty significant. One major part is going to be Headhunter. Now, Headhunter makes it so that you just start gaining a bunch of mods when you kill rare enemies. It's one of the more powerful items in the game for clear. You know it, you love it, or you hate it, depending on who you are. This is a very, very powerful item for clearing. Now, other than that, we are swapping to a different shield because we do need a little bit more resist, because we're not going to be able to have any resist on our Headhunter. So we are swapping out this shield here. Our other shield has a lot more evasion, but this one has better resistances. The last couple things that we're going to be changing is we are going to be changing out some jewels. Now, these 2 jewels are pretty rough. So this right now is 1 divine, but the moment that this video goes live, it will no longer be 1 divine. You can use a normal jewel instead of this. You can use a +2 to Rapid Assault if you like. +3 is going to be a lot of money after this build goes live, but it is what it is. You're just going to swap one of your normal jewels for this, and then the next one is going to be this Heart of the Well. I actually made this myself. This is just crit damage bonus, a bunch of attack speed, and extra damage as chaos. This is just get the best that you can, or use a normal jewel. This one honestly isn't that insane in the scheme of things. Last and most expensive item is going to be Garakon's Resolve. You don't need this, and I demonstrated that by showing you that you can do the Uber Arbiter with the normal version of the build. You don't need Garakons, you don't need any of this crazy stuff. That said, this support is insane. It's like 50 or 60% overall damage for the build. It definitely goes in Rapid Assault, and it goes in Rapid Assault instead of Rapid Attacks. This increases the damage of your single target by a lot. So the other thing that you can do once you've swapped this out is that your Headhunter gives you a ton of dexterity and a ton of strength. So we are way overcapped on dexterity, meaning we can swap a bunch of our points to strength, which we're going to do. So we need, I think 157 is the amount of dexterity that we need. Yeah, so we need 157. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to change all of this dexterity to strength to get us down to just above 157. The reason for this is that we want as much life as we possibly can. It is our main defensive layer. So 159. Okay, so that puts us up to 3330. We get 50% more of that because of our chest piece that I talked about before. And that's the transition. That's pretty much all that you have to do. So we are going to run a Pinnacle now. Pinnacle we're going to run this time is going to be the Nothing Man. It's going to be Ritual. This is probably the easiest of all of the Pinnacle bosses, but they're all relatively similar when it comes to the amount of damage. And honestly, I'm going to show you here in a second. The damage, especially in the high-end version, makes these a joke. This is not difficult. All right, so second phase here, we are going to go ahead and hit him with the Pounce. We're going to curse him. We're going to get enough honor to or glory, whatever it is. And then we're just going to go at him like this. So yeah, and he's dead. So that was tier 3 Pinnacle. All of them go like that. You pretty much just insta-kill them with the high-end version of the build. All right, so we're going to be running a tier 16 map here. It's got monster damage, a couple of annoying mods on it. Rare monsters have 1 additional modifier, is particularly dangerous when it comes to Abyss. Eye level 81 zone. We have a powerful map boss in here, +1. So this is also going to be running Unforeseen Consequences. So we have a bunch of Abysses. And yeah, let's jump in. So this is how the build performs when you have Headhunter going, when you have a whole bunch of crazy gear and everything going. This is how we're going to be running it from here on out. So the main difference that you're going to run into is that the speed of the build goes up significantly, the clear of the build goes up significantly, and the survivability generally goes up significantly here. So the major thing here is just we get Headhunter buffs, including you get the Abyss buffs. So those abyssal mods that are on, you know, the Abyss monsters, you get those too. In general, once you get to the point where you have Headhunter, most things are a joke. This is Bubonic Trail, which is the worst modifier for any build that likes to heal. That's honestly the main thing that kills me. Now, these Amanamu Void mobs, you can make a bunch of extra money if you didn't know by pulling them out of their Void. I'm not doing that right now because it's, you know, annoying and slow, and I want to show you guys how the build can actually function, but just remember that. Now, whenever you do run these big abysses, I do suggest, especially on the more difficult zones, that you're popping down your banner like right here, basically in the middle of everything. The banner is huge. It will hit pretty much the entire area, and you don't really need to worry too much about it. But yeah, this is how it looks most of the time. It's just like absolutely annihilating everything on screen. You don't really have to think too much. Once you put on Headhunter, the build kind of plays itself. That's just kind of how Headhunter works most of the time. But yeah, so run around, do a lot of damage, zoom, 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 and kill pretty much everything on screen, no problem whatsoever. Not really much else to show you here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump to the boss so I can show you what an actual boss feels like. Wow, my computer is lagging so horribly here. There's just too much going on in this map, to be quite honest with you. There's just an insane amount of things happening. Breach and Abyss and all this stuff going on. I mean, the tornadoes, the fire, 4 abysses all on top of each other. Oh, there's a divine orb. For the most part, as long as you don't run into anything that turns off your healing, like bubonic plague or trail or whatever it's called, you're pretty much fine. If you do get your healing turned off, you can die pretty quickly. Do keep that in mind. With Headhunter, doesn't matter. You have to be aware of your health most of the time. If you're not, you might run into some issues here. All right, so unfortunately my Headhunter mods pulled the boss. I'm trying to make this a fair comparison, but I'm just having to wait for a moment. So we're gonna wait for this boss to do its thing. But this is an empowered tier 16 +1 map boss, so let's go ahead and get started here. So as you can see, still insta-death, doesn't matter. These are much harder than Pinnacles most of the time, but in this map with, you know, all this kind of stuff on it, eye level 81, empowered map boss, still didn't matter. Died pretty much instantly. And that's going to be it for the video. Remember, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in raid class. Now, see you guys in the next video.